Blog Talk Radio.
Hi, and welcome to Conscious Talk Radio, and I'm your host, Linda Summers, and we've got another great show for you today. Our topic is The Path to True Love with Maya Kana. And before we bring her on board, I'd like to give you a little bit of background information about her. Maya is the owner of Maya Bright Star Creations. She is a psychic, relationship coach, and blogger. Maya specializes in twin flames and divine soul unions. She and her twin flame, Zaire, are working together to help everyday people reignite their passion for true love. And with that, I'd like to welcome Maya to the show. Hi, Maya.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me today.
You're so welcome, and thank you for being here. This is, I was just talking to somebody about relationships this morning, and this is such a huge topic. I even know for myself personally that everybody's looking for, well, I don't say looking, but I guess really that is the word, looking for our twin flame. And you mentioned soulmates as well. And so in the soulmate, the union in the description for today's topic. So I love this topic. I just think that, to be in this beautiful love relationship is what everybody's looking for.
Yeah, well, definitely. And I think, everybody had a chance this past weekend to really reflect on their love life with Valentine's Day. And I always think that people are really looking for soul-based love. Even sometimes people try to convince themselves that they'll be satisfied in a different type of relationship, but it really seems like all humans are programmed to have true love. And so I'm really happy to be in this line of work and be helping people to make that possible.
Yeah, well, we're glad to have you here because this is going to be just very good information and from your own experience to bring this out to our listeners and our audience. So that leads me to asking the question, can you give us a little bit of background information of how you got to finding this path for yourself, you and Zaire?
Yeah, definitely. Well, to be a little bit brief about it, I think I had a history with relationships that was like what a lot of people had. I've had relationships all throughout my life. But I always kind of knew that the person that I was with was not the one, as they say. And I had this feeling that there was somebody who was the one. And about in 2014, it just started to hit me. I just could not shake this feeling that there was somebody else out there. But at the time, I was living halfway around the world. I was living in Africa. And I just kept getting this feeling, that I was destined for some higher form of love. Nothing in my life was pointing to me that was possible. Everything, in fact, was pointing out to me that it wasn't possible. A lot of signs and people around me who were not really true to themselves and things like that. And I just started to ask myself, I said, what would I have to do in order to even be ready for this true love? I kind of realized that part of the problem was me, and part of the problem was that even if my true love had walked right up to me, I either didn't really believe or I wasn't ready. So I actually got really, really sick all of a sudden, and I started to care for myself the first time and started to realize that the reason why I was sick, I actually collapsed one day, was because I didn't really love myself, and I started to actively love myself, to even talk to myself, and say loving things to myself every day. And after about 2 to 3 months of that, I actually just had gotten out of the hospital, and sure enough, about 48 hours later, I met Zaire, and I was just flabbergasted because the way he treated me and spoke to me was the way that I had finally learned to speak to myself. So that's what happened.
Wow. So what you're saying is you found that it was that you weren't taking care of yourself. Did you love yourself, or did you find yourself so what you're saying is that you didn't even know that until you did that? That's when he came into play.
Right, yeah. So I didn't love myself, until very recently. I didn't even understand what that actually meant. I think that, like a lot of people, I was looking for someone else to give me love, right? And I was like, okay, if I am with somebody and they love me, then that's how I'll get my love. But I finally realized that if I didn't love myself, I couldn't even receive love from someone else. And if the other person doesn't love themselves, they can't give love to you anyway. So my whole life kind of, I think, fell apart because of a lack of, true self-love and true caring. And I almost got to the point where I think when you're really sick and things like that, where you have really no choice but to give yourself love. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. You're kind of bound to really having to go into self-reflection, really, and really looking at your own life, because you can't do anything. So you're pretty much kind of stuck there with just really thinking about your life. I mean, I guess what most people would really do.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are at that point right now, all throughout the planet, where maybe they're even in a relationship or they've had a lot of relationships, but none of them have given them what they're really craving, that real, true love, true connection. And so people are starting to ask themselves, what is really the issue here? And they're starting to come to the realization that maybe it's not actually, their partner or even their life circumstances or some of the things that we tend to blame. Maybe it's actually something within them that hasn't allowed for that true love experience.
Absolutely. So let's talk about self-love, because my next question was really going to be, when you talk about path to true love, this feels like this is a beginning, a first step to that path is what you speak of.
Yeah, definitely. So self-love. So what is self-love? Well, self-love is, this active, it's really an act. It's not only a state of being, but it's consistently choosing to respect and honor yourself in every moment, every day. And this is everything from how we talk to ourselves in our minds. In almost every case, I think we'll find that we are our own worst critics. The way that we speak to ourselves, the things that we tell ourselves, that we're lazy or we're ugly or all these things, that is, not self-love, all the way to how we allow others to treat us, the choices that we make, in terms of what we feed our body, how we spend our time. If you're doing a lot of things, that you don't really like to do, well, then that's kind of not self-love, right? Self-love is consistently choosing things that make us feel good, honoring our emotions, speaking well to ourselves, all of that.
Well, and one thing you said earlier about your own experience was, which I think is huge in self-love, is realizing that this person is not really the person I want to spend my life with, but yet we tend to stay with that person because we feel they're better than nothing. And so, you know what I mean? So I think that is really huge.
Yeah, yes. So I think the process that a lot of us are in, it has to do with this concept of self-worth. And so people know, I do think that almost everybody knows in their heart if the person that they are with is the person that is their true love. People do know, and they're in these connections. They know it's not their highest connection or their highest form of love, but people have so much fear about being alone with themselves that they will hold on to the presence of somebody who doesn't honor them or somebody who just isn't their highest form of connection in order to hide from that experience without realizing that the experience of being alone with themselves is the only way for them to actually have true love.
Exactly. Well, let me ask you this, though. So what if you take it to the other place of when they find that you find that person has spent a lot of their life alone, that years and years, right? They really haven't been in a really solid relationship, and they get so comfortable with being alone. What would you say to that?
Well, I think that can be a great experience for a lot of people. At least getting comfortable in your own presence, I think, is a necessity before actually being in a true love-based connection. But I think in a lot of cases for somebody that's been alone for a while, they probably do have that longing, to connect with their true love. If they don't, then I guess it's not an issue. But in a lot of cases, I think that they do. And there's this fear there's sort of this underlying feeling that they maybe aren't deserving of the connection that they want. So in a lot of cases, it's an issue with not speaking up, not being a little bit afraid to maybe approach somebody that they have feelings for. So it's sort of the same underlying issue of maybe not fully honoring their feelings that you actually would find in a connection of somebody who is with maybe the wrong person.
Right. So let's tap on loving yourself. So you explained it's really, how we talk to ourselves and making those decisions and kind of knowing that. Is there any kind of advice that you would give someone to really start to loving themselves other than paying attention to how we are being, how we are thinking with ourselves and things like that? Is there any kind of tips that you can give on that really quick?
A very simple tip to see if you're actively loving yourself is ask yourself, do I really want to do this, or do I really like this? Whether that's with your friends, do I really like this person in my heart? Do I really want to do this in my heart? If the answer is no to anything in your life, then that's a sign that you can increase your self-love.
I love that. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great way, good tip for people to be able to do. So let's go on to how can one attract their soul's highest partner? And I think in that question, when we talk about the soul, because I think there's the higher self, there's the soul, there's your spirit. So, or, it's not really the conscious part of you. So can you kind of explain that, but then also let us know the second part of that question would be, how do we attract that?
Okay, so when I'm talking about the soul, I'm talking about, of course, this higher aspect of you, talking about the energy of who you are, not your mind, not your body, but that aspect of you that remains, even if your mind or body is not active. So that core vibration of who you are. So when I'm talking about what is a soulmate, I'm talking about somebody whose presence, not their personality, not their body, somebody whose presence is like in a harmonic frequency to your own, or it's a match for your own presence. And then if you're talking about a twin flame, it's somebody who has the exact same core energy or same soul as yourself. So the biggest thing, if you're trying to attract your soul's highest partner or attract somebody who is, a vibrational match for your soul, you absolutely must be in the natural vibration of your soul. That's the most important thing. So if you are not being true to yourself, or you are somehow resisting being who you are, then you will not be able to attract somebody who is a match for you, because they will be, the people around you will be drawn into whatever you're sort of emitting, whatever vibration you're emitting. If that vibration is not true to who you are, then you'll end up drawing in somebody who is not your highest match.
Exactly. What just came to mind was like attracts like. So wherever we are vibrating at, we will attract that. And that could even happen, it sounds like what you're saying, subconsciously as well, because we may not even be aware of the pattern, but we think, gosh, why am I keep attracting the same guy or the same girl, right? So I love how you said that. And then something else came to mind, too, was how can we raise our frequency, because you mentioned about the harmonic, of how can we raise that in order to, for the listeners who wouldn't really know, of thinking, oh, my gosh, well, what is the harmonic? And maybe we should even kind of go there and kind of explain this frequency of this energy, that how we are attracting and people in our life.
Yeah. Okay, so your frequency or vibration, I think what you want to do if you're thinking about what's my true vibration, who am I really, there's a couple ways to figure this out and to get in alignment with who you really are. One is to imagine maybe like your earliest memory as a child before you had all these experiences that changed you into something else, and sort of think of, who was I really when I was just a kid playing, when I was just in my natural state? That will get you pretty close. Some other ways to figure out what is your actual true vibration, or to get your vibration in alignment with who you really are, is to look at what you're attracted to. Because usually the people that we're drawn to, if you see someone and you think, wow, that's amazing, man or woman, that's probably someone who's actually representative of your true vibration. And then the other core thing to realize is that everybody's truest vibration is love. All of us on a soul level, we have a frequency that's very close to what we would call unconditional love. So if you're in that place where you're feeling like you're being, very loving, and that you're seeing the world through loving eyes, then you're probably at a very high vibration, or very true vibration to your soul.
So can we be at that vibration? So if we are at that vibration, that we are seeing beauty out in the world, and yet we still haven't met that twin flame or soulmate, because I want to ask you another question outside of that after this one. So what happens then? Because we've got our vibration raised, we're at that frequency, but yet we are not, that person hasn't come into our life.
Yes. Okay, great question. So if you're at that frequency, you're being true to yourself, and your true love has not shown up, there could be a couple of things. One thing may be that it's a matter of divine timing, in the sense that in a lot of cases before we incarnate, we actually have contracts to meet up with certain people. It could be that your true love is on their own journey right now, trying to finish up, some of their own lessons so that they're ready for love. The other really common thing that happens is that you may have an underlying belief within yourself that's preventing you from having that connection. So, for example, you may have the belief in your mind for, some people will think, okay, maybe they're not at their best weight or physical appearance right now. And somewhere in their subconscious, they have the belief, I don't want to meet my true love unless I weigh 125 pounds or something like that. So even though, they're being true to themselves most of the time, they're loving themselves, they've got this sort of program operating in their subconscious that's repelling the person from them. So taking a really good look at your underlying beliefs can be helpful as well. And a lot of people do that with coaching or some type of inner work.
I love that. That is it's so true, because it can be where, and you don't even think about it. You don't even think that you're even saying that. So that's so, it's so important. Wow, I love that. I love that. Thanks for those tips. Awesome tips. So let's talk soulmate twin flame. So it seems like there's a huge distinction between those two, because I've heard, well, your soulmate, he could be a soulmate or she could be a soulmate, but sometimes soulmates don't stay together, and soulmates can be very challenging, because you mentioned about the soulmate having this harmonic frequency that matches yours, but you mentioned the twin flame has the same core energy and soul as a soul energy, I think that's how you said it, as yourself. So they feel like two very different, I don't even know the word, energies or aspects of a person that's coming in. So the first question I feel is, what is the distinction between the two, and is that really true? And it also, on the twin flames, I've also heard that you may not even meet your twin flame in this lifetime. And really, what is a twin flame? What is a soulmate? So that would be my question.
Okay, so first I'll explain this in really simple terms. It's important to understand that we have a family as a soul. So we are with groups of souls all the time that always incarnate with us. So a soulmate is like somebody who is in your soul group, and these groups can be very large. They can be 100,000 souls or more. A soulmate is like, if you're comparing it to your human experience, a soulmate could be like somebody who, to your soul, maybe they're like a parent, a sibling, maybe they're a close friend, a coworker. It's somebody that you know well, that you have this nice, long-lasting, sustainable relationship with. Whereas a twin flame is like a biological, identical twin to you. So a sibling relationship, for example, which would be comparable to a soulmate relationship, that can be wonderful. That can be somebody that you're spending a lot of time with, enjoying life with in a lot of ways, that you share a special love with that person. But it can't exactly be compared to the same experience as, growing up, in the womb with somebody and then sharing that exact match, as being their biological twin. So that's a little bit of a distinction. When we're talking about it vibrationally, a soulmate, as I said, it's a harmonic frequency match. So what I mean by that is, if two notes are in harmony, they're two different notes. But when they're heard together, it creates a beautiful type of music. So that's what you have with a soulmate. You've got these two different vibrations that are working together, that are just, better together than when they're apart. And they just enjoy a lot of beautiful times together. And soulmates can teach you about yourself in a lot of different ways. Now, with twin flames, it's a totally different experience. Twin flame connections are not usually immediately perfect and beautiful in the way that a soulmate connection often is. So twin flames are not here to have a storybook romance usually. Twin flames are usually here to completely heal themselves. So you call in your twin flame only when you are ready to heal every single thing within you that is out of alignment with your soul. So these tend to be very chaotic connections because, when you're presented with somebody who's the exact same thing as you, but in another body, which is the case with twin flames, they show you everything about you. Some of it you may want to see, some of it you may not want to see. So twin flames come here on a mission to change the world. So they're here to work together to heal everything within themselves and change the world. Soulmates usually come together in a family to bring in, children, to work maybe at a smaller level in the community, or just to share their loving, marriage or partnership with others. So a little bit of a distinction there.
Wow, yeah, and that's pretty huge. So I guess the question is arising of, okay, so they're the twin flame, so there's a huge distinction between that. Does everyone meet their twin flame, or is it true that sometimes you won't, that your twin flame, it kind of happens when you first come down, everything kind of splits, that other part of you goes off, the other female or male goes off in the world, or doesn't, just stays up in the soul group?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Most people will not meet their twin flame. This is a pretty rare connection. A lot of people... Yeah, a lot of people do debate the numbers, but I think it's probably 1% or less will meet their twin flame, generally speaking. Okay, but there is something different going on the planet right now, because when two twin flames come together, it creates a very, very strong, powerful vibration. And right now, as a lot of people know, the Earth is going through big transformations, trying to heal, trying to raise, the vibration of the collective. So now, more than ever in history, a lot of twin flames are coming together to help sort of break down this barrier of separation that's been on the planet. So there's a better chance now than there has been for thousands and thousands of years on Earth, but a lot of people are still not ready for the twin flame connection. However, people that are twin flames, they usually know that they are. They usually feel that there is somebody that's the same as them. But for most people walking down the street, they're not thinking about, there's another me on the planet that's in another body, and I'm going to meet this person. So it's not a part of everybody's experience.
True. That does make a lot of sense, absolutely. Well, I'm glad you said that, because it's like, oh gosh, I would love to meet, my twin flame. So it'd be, to hear that people aren't, because there is so many changes that are happening. I did read something about a lot more, I don't know how many, the thousands of twin flames will be coming together to help in creating the world and making this a better place. So what you're saying is that you will know it, and it's more of the person who really feels that there's somebody out there that's got to be just like me. So you're really kind of having that dialogue with yourself, and you're feeling that would be more likely for that person to be reunited with their twin flame.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I think that, a lot of people probably who are listening to this, they probably do have a twin flame, but amongst the whole population, most people probably don't have a twin flame that's incarnate. So there is a knowing. It's a knowing similar to the knowing that like a biological twin would have when they are separated from their biological twin, feeling like there's another part of them somewhere on the planet, and just being able to sort of remotely feel that connection, feel the presence of someone else, feel their emotions, that type of thing. So people usually, they know somehow, even if they can't put it into words, twin flames usually will know that they're here for a larger purpose. It's often the mission that cues them into the fact that they're a twin flame, like feel that they're here to change the world, to bring in some new type of society, and then they feel that they are, bored, frustrated with the current relationship dynamics on the planet, that there has to be something more, something deeper. So yeah, that's what you usually find.
I love that. So then that brings me to this question. So if that's the case, and then the majority of the planet is not in that space, right? So then is there, I guess, giving hope to people? Can people still really have that true love? Because we're talking about the path to true love, right? So can they have that love that is so deep and so profound, just like a soulmate and just like a twin flame?
Mm-hmm. Well, I just wanted to say one statement to start, which is that if every person on the planet was on the twin flame journey, this would be a much more chaotic world because the twin flame journey really pushes people. So that would be too much if everybody was on the twin flame journey right now. You'd see a lot of crazy things going on. But the true love basically requires that somebody's in touch with their soul, that they're willing to bear their soul. I mean, to have a true love connection, what you need is two people who are willing to bear their souls to each other, who are willing to be honest and authentic with each other, who are willing to let themselves be seen, who are willing to let themselves, express and speak from their soul. So yes, you can have, you do not need to be with your twin flame to have true love. You can have true love in any type of connection so long as both of the people are willing to align with their natural state of love.
So it almost sounds like it's really being transparent. You really want to be transparent and really allows that person. I mean, that's where I feel vulnerability comes into play, where we really want to close down our hearts. We don't really want people to really know who we are, because if they really did, then maybe they wouldn't like us or whatever's going on in their mind. But when you're really transparent, I think it's much more attracting, actually, when you can really just let that person know, this is really what's going on for me. I think that's really hard for people to do.
Yeah, definitely. I think that society trains us to pretend to be someone that we're not, and they tell us, no, you're attractive if you only have, positive emotions, or you're attractive if your body works a certain way, or you're attractive if you hide the pain that's inside of you. But I think that what people really want, if we're talking about human nature, they want to see that somebody else is real, that somebody else has the full range of emotions, that somebody else has been through pain, that they're willing to share that. And when you actually see somebody else, if you sit across from somebody and they speak their truth to you and they tell you what they've really been through and what they really desire in their heart, generally that heals both people. That's generally true love, but society has, in a lot of cases, made us afraid to do the only thing that will actually lead to true love, which, as you're saying, is actually being ourselves, not holding back, not pretending to be someone we're not.
Yep, absolutely. So what relationship advice in the bigger perspective would you have for the listeners that are listening today?
Well, okay, some general relationship advice. Don't be afraid to ask for what you want if you're in a relationship. I think a lot of times, especially women, but men as well, they're afraid to say what they really want because they're afraid of being, rejected, or they're afraid that they might come across as selfish. So communication is absolutely huge. Being able to specifically ask for what you want creates a lot of transparency with your partner, so they have a chance of actually, showing up in the way that you prefer. Another piece of relationship advice, play on the same team. Sometimes we get in these battles, between our partner where we're in a state of trying to compete or trying to outperform, or we're thinking of them as being something totally separate from ourselves. If you want to have a good relationship, you have to play together on the same team. That's extremely, extremely important.
I love that. That's really a good analogy. It's so true, because if you're really battling with each other, it's really going to cause this friction between two people. So what is one thing that you can share with our listeners that has helped you on your journey?
Yeah. One thing that has helped me, I think, on my journey to true love is to take a step back and to ask myself on a day-to-day basis, am I choosing love? And to sort of reprogram myself to choose love. This has helped immensely, because when you are in those difficult situations in your relationship, maybe if your partner is criticizing you, there's a part of us that immediately goes into a defensive mode. But if you put it at your forefront of your consciousness to choose love, you will immediately, go way deeper in your connection, bond together. So I would say that decision to choose love, that decision to ask myself, is this actually love that I'm putting out there, or is this something else? That's made all the difference. That's what's, enabled us to actually stay together throughout our twin flame union, as opposed to separating, as a lot of twins do.
Really, a lot of twins do separate then, because it's so chaotic and it's so trying that they actually do.
Yes. In general, separation is a big part of most twin flame unions. Not separating forever, but it's very common for twin flames to come together. Initially, you'll experience complete bliss and euphoria as a result of finally having, been presented with or connecting with this person that you've been longing for such a long time. But then once you start to meet their human elements and they show you all the things that are within you that are not healed, it's almost in 100% of cases that people at that point will separate because they cannot stand to see who they really are reflected in another person. So in order to, fight that urge to run away from this other person who's you have to really be very conscious of choosing love, you have to be loving to the person, realizing that that person is a reflection of you and that what you actually want is love, what they want is love. So, yes.
Wow, I love that. Oh, my gosh. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today and gifting us with this beautiful information, but really about love and how we can begin to loving ourselves first to be able to attract that relationship and be in this, twin flame soulmate or just be in a really true love relationship. So thank you so much. We really greatly appreciate it. It was just amazing. I love it.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's been my pleasure. I love to talk about this. This is my passion. So it's been a pleasure.
Yes, we can definitely tell. It was just awesome. And we want to thank the listeners out there who joined us today and the ones who will be joining us via YouTube. We thank you so much. Please don't forget to follow, subscribe, comment, and like us. And you can join me next week, February 24th, for our next show, How to Raise Your Consciousness in Just 8 Minutes a Day with Eileen Kurlander. And also stay tuned for a new show coming up that I'll be talking about a little bit more. But so just good things are coming up. And so thank you again, Maya. Really, it was just such a pleasure to have you. And this is just a really great topic. And, of course, it's really about love. Love is the highest vibration. And really appreciate you bringing this to everyone that's listening and just bringing it to the world. So thank you so much, you and Zaire.
Yes,
right.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.